Welcome to FCC Supporter Square, the show for fans, by fans, and about fans. Here's your host, Mark Suffin and Matt Warman. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yet another FCC Supporter Square. I am your host, Matt Warman. Mark Suffin is recovering nicely. I did get a picture from him sitting on the stoop. No, he wasn't drinking a 40, but I'm sure he'd like to. But he's progressing well. The surgery is I think, a big success. So hopefully we'll be seeing him in a few more weeks. Meanwhile, I'm here and you're there, and now we're just going to have a nice little conversation with our guest today, Justin Blair. Say hello, Justin.
Hey guys, how are you doing? I've been a long time listener of this program. I love the FCC Supporter Square. I love what you guys do over here. I love hearing the stories of people in FCC fan base. Uh, I'm so happy to be able to be a part of it now.
That is great because there was a period of time where we didn't know each other, and it was like, oh, Cincinnati Soccer Talk is going to be doing a fan based thing, and it was like, oh, I see. And then I've had some snarky comments on previous episodes, and you reached out to me behind the scenes and said that wasn't the case. I didn't know you were there. Now that I found you guys are awesome. So thank you for that. That was very nice. And because Cincinnati Soccer Talk has more, I don't have any money. I just do this for fun, right? You guys have graphics and Apple TV and all the fun stuff that comes with being the top dog, which is wonderful for you guys. But anyhow, there you go. So let's talk about last week's game. Um, 17 seconds in, everybody was losing their minds. It was a great start. Everybody's like, okay, this is really good. And then 90 minutes of pain, even though it was a win, and it was a win, and we did walk away with 3 points. It was kind of like 90 minutes of pain. What was your thoughts on last week's game?
Yeah, it for me it was I didn't even catch the opening goal. So it's kind of a reduction to the mean for me because it was like every single time this season that I have walked away from the TV screen if I'm watching it at home, it always seems to be a goal. So me and my son were coming back for the grocery store, and as I was walking in, my wife already had the game on the TV. I see the celebration. I'm like 17 seconds into the match, but no, the rest of the match, for me, it's very frustrating because it's not so much the man advantage. It's just that we've been kind of thrown the exact same look several times this season, and we haven't had very much of an answer for it. The being able to progress the ball past midfield into the attacking third has been our problem. And it's been our problem, if we're being honest, for a couple seasons now. It's just not very many teams have exploited our issues. We just have no line breaking presence. So the game just evolves into this kind of slop fest of trying to get these intricate, tight passes um, to progress the ball forward. And, you know, with the man advantage, you feel like, oh, we should be able to break it. But no, 90 minutes. How about you, Matt? How did you feel about the
Uh,
match?
Honestly, I feel kind of similar. Certainly, we have a problem with Orlando, particularly in Orlando, but even at home, they were the ones that delivered our first loss of the season at home. Uh, they're a tenacious team. They're one of the few teams I think that has both the physicality and the speed because they are definitely you press us, you have to be good at it. If you're not good at it, we're very dangerous. But they were very good at it, and they kept their high pressure press, for lack of a better term, up for 25, 30 minutes, really until they became a man down. And even then, they pressed a little bit and had some counter chances, even with a man down. But these types of teams who press us hard, we seem to have this pattern that we want to follow. And then you study the films and you go, okay, this is the pattern. When they pass it here, it's going to go here. It's going to go here. We don't seem to switch fields at odd times or bring extra people back, or it's like, oh, we're going to move it up. Okay, now we've hit a wall. We're going to pass it back. Okay, now we're going to pass it to the center. Now we'll switch fields. It's very predictable. I think that's what we need is a little more dynamic attack on moving numbers and stuff. Look at me. I actually am talking soccer and not fan stuff.
You're like me 2 years ago. I'm just now getting up to speed with all of the intricacies of
Yeah,
it.
there's certainly some things to be done. So we scored a goal. They hit the post. They were offsides on a goal, clearly offsides. The offsides was a rare offsides where it was called before they actually scored the goal. So it wasn't like they scored the goal and then the flag came up. They called it before that even happened. So nobody was really complaining too much. But yeah, man down. I thought with the man down, it's like, okay, now we can get some things done. And it was one of those games where we brought in the kids and we brought in Kevin Kelsey, and you're thinking it might get a little ragged, but it was like everybody just disappeared. What are your thoughts on Brett Halsey and how that transpired?
It's pretty disappointing. I mean, Brett Halsey has had tons of minutes with the first team, has been a professional for several seasons now. And to have those kind of boneheaded, like the first one, it's a bit frustrating because it's just about positioning, right? As a big guy, I'm not saying Brett Halsey is the biggest guy on planet Earth, but you're a big guy, Matt. And sometimes when you're doing a little bit of a box out, sometimes you're kind of unfortunate about the size advantage, right? Getting up there. And I think that's kind of what happened. He was putting his elbow out and the guy was ducking his head at the same time. So, I mean, clear yellow on that one. But the second one was just completely inexcusable. You can't lose your mind in that situation, kick the ball. I know Brett is better than that, and I know that he's going into that locker room after that, knowing just why did I do that? Especially now with the emphasis on delayed situations in a match, they're going to give you a yell every single time on that.
I think it was completely warranted. I think it was, as you said, a bonehead move. It was not something we needed to do, and quite frankly, he's a piece that I can see as a late minute sub for our next match. Hell is real, because Columbus does kind of the same things that Orlando does, only better. And that's going to be very interesting. So, what I said on social after the game was, in August it's 3 points. It's 3 points. It was 3 points when we won it. It's 3 points now. It's going to be 3 points in August, and nobody's going to go, oh, remember that Orlando game where we played terribly and won? It's just because it's the immediacy, and certainly we have a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces for this season, and it's going to be a struggle. And I think everybody kind of knows that. But even knowing that, it gets frustrating to just see, you're better than this. We can do better than this. I feel like this season is going to be a success or a failure, not now, but in August, because all of the pieces should be well in there. I mean, Yedlin is really settling in. I mean, that's 17 seconds in. That was a Yedlin pass, if I was not mistaken. That's the guy we needed. That is what I said last week. Is that we were with Barrial, we were only one sided. Now we have two wing backs. Now with two 19-year-old or 19-year-old with Kelsey, and Dado could definitely get into that mix. We could definitely get some speed and some agility to that attack, and maybe some dynamic pieces, because they're trying to make as you said, the one touch, two touch, three touch. Trying to almost look like a European or an Italian team, when sometimes all you need to do is just press the advantage.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I mean, like you touched on it at the beginning of the show, having a situation where you could easily flip the field, it's like they're almost scared to make that pass this season, which they weren't last year. I think Yedlin has been the probably the best the season at looking for that left side of the pitch and saying, okay, well, I'm going to flip it all the way across the pitch. But right now, we're just kind of slowly progressing the ball, and then every defense is prepared whenever you're making 2, 3 touches to get the ball across. You're not going to be caught out of position in that long of a stretch. So uh, you would like to see us improve on that, and maybe we just need to kind of open up the floodgate and said, hey, if they're going to score in transition, or if they're going to play heavy in the counter attack, then we gotta live with that, because we can't just continue to slowly progress the ball and watch you know us dispossessed, and the outcome is the same. It's just the method of getting there is different.
And some of the teams are doing what we used to do when we were bad, which is play five in the back and just wait for your chance. Because we're still working
Mm-hmm.
out the midfield, right? This game is all about possessing in the midfield. If you can break down the defense in the middle third, uh, and clearly we've been doing that early. It was our final third that looked bad, but that game with a lot of pressing, it was the middle third where we just kind of either meander or not take a chance, not make that threading pass, and just kick it back and kick it forward and kind of take the air out of the ball. And I think this team sometimes when they take the air out of the ball, they lose their energy, they lose their vibe, for lack of a better term. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so let's put that game to bed.
Because
Let's talk about
yeah,
let's talk
let's
about that stupid team up north, and what are your thoughts? What are your expectations? What are your hopes and dreams on the Hell is Real?
well, the news that we got today with Lucho and Yedlin still trying to recover day by day, I think is what Pat and Laurel were reporting. That's not a great sign, not a promising sign, because you obviously need Lucho Acosta when you're playing against a team like Columbus, who's going to be able to, for lack of a better term, just flat dominate midfield, no matter who they're playing. And then, of course, their attacking front. You have to be able to match goals with Cucho Hernandez and even Ramirez. Christian Ramirez has kind of been a thorn in our side. That match last year was 3-0 coming off of Leagues Cup up there in Columbus. That was a long drive back home from Columbus. That was a miserable experience. But I do think that FC Cincinnati probably have a better go at it, because now they're not the hunted. They're the hunters going into this match. They're a little bit of the underdogs in this match, even though the table doesn't reflect that. Um, so I feel fairly confident. My hope is to secure a point. I think that's probably the most realistic expectation that you can have. It's going to be hard to smash and grab points up in Columbus.
It's very much so. This is the first Hell is Real Columbus that I'm missing. I'm going up to New York birthday weekend, meeting my kids live in New York, so I'm hoping to get to Auxilia One. Who knows? I've got some other plans, and that may change. But the hope is to go hang out with the Auxilia One people and root on a victory. I am not nearly as positive as others. Watching that game last year and how much they dominated, even with a Lucho in the middle, how much we just look disjointed and out of shape. If we play like Orlando, we're in trouble. If we play like Colorado, then we've got a chance. Now, if Lucho and Yedlin aren't in there, nobody's going to be mad about a loss. And quite frankly, even with the two of them in there, obviously we didn't have Yedlin last year, but 3-0 with a pretty healthy team and pretty much high expectations, uh, you know. So I'm hopeful, but if we can get a point, I mean, we've only gotten 1 point out of those matchups up in Columbus, and that was the first year.
Yeah, and I mean these are two juggernauts playing each other, so let's not get it twisted. These are two of the best teams in the MLS squaring up against each other. Obviously, we know what kind of heat and passion goes into this matchup. So maybe, somebody makes a mistake in this situation. I know FC Cincinnati has had, um, for the lack of better words, just lack of success going up into Columbus. It kind of the game gets away from them. But I think this matchup, I think people will be delightfully surprised on how much better FC Cincinnati matches up against Columbus this season as they did last season. I think last season it kind of played in their hands, right? We had Junior Moreno that was sitting back, playing more of a defensive position, and that kind of just invited Aiden Morris and Nagby to play you know, right at the box for us, and that's definitely not where you want either one of those people to be in with position in space. But I think FC Cincinnati this year, uh, with our attacking options, if we have Lucho Acosta, and we're certainly lacking of Aaron Bupenza, we're certainly losing. We lost Brandon Vasquez. This could be a match where we really need to find some defensive success, and that includes having possession in the attacking third.
Certainly, I hope so. I mean, I've seen us go up 2-0 last year. I've seen them go up 2-0 in Columbus, and literally from the away supporter section, line of sight with Vermeer in goal. Literally, they scored two goals like 2 or 3 minutes apart, literally from the same spot. And Vermeer literally did the same thing at the same point, had his hands out, and then went, "Oh, that went in." Like, yeah, the same shot, like 2, 3 minutes later, he hit it in the same spot. And he's like, how could I could see where this was going, and I've not even played, and I've had a couple of beverages. I think I might have been able to stop that. So there's been a lot of that kind of things. I think the whole issue is that we weren't good and they've dominated, and it really hurts more than anything else because last year's home last match was for the cup. I think nobody would disagree that whoever won that match in Tico Stadium last year was going to win the cup. We had goals, dreams of the treble. We lost the league's cup, so it's like, okay, we can still get the double. And then it's like, oh, of course, it's Columbus. And then to be up 2-0 and 20 minutes to play and have that result, I've had that story in my head before. Um,
Yeah, the table situation last year, I mean, FC Cincinnati was the best team all year. I mean, there's no questioning, no arguing that. But they really did run into the three hottest teams in the MLS in their postseason run, didn't they? I mean, Red Bulls, I think they were like in 13th in the East, and then they found themselves in playoffs in the final four, like 4 weeks of the season. And then you had Philadelphia, who was resurging after that terrible start of the season, playing in CONCACAF Champions League. And then, of course, Columbus was the hottest team in MLS. And we really, it kind of overwhelmed us, right? You could see the kind of the reverse situation happen from the Inter Miami game in the U.S. Open Cup. um, we really took off of our players, late in that match. And then whenever they had scored some goals, we had nobody on the field still yet to be able to answer that. So it was definitely a reverse of course for Pat Noonan to, okay, well, let's just put in our guys. We'll just leave them in, and they just completely ran out of gas. And Columbus, Cucho Hernandez, I don't know who trained this guy growing up, but he's like a robot to me. Like he seemingly never gets tired, and that would be nice to have. It's kind of like Obina Nuovo. He never gets tired.
it would be nice.
Yeah.
Uh, so I see it as I'll take a point. I literally will take a point at this point in the season. If Lucho and Yedlin are out, those are two obviously major pieces. I don't know if Kubo or Dado would be the nine. I don't know where the offense comes out of that if Lucho's not in there. Um, but maybe he takes a week off and we run the next 6 weeks. Get healthy. I'd rather have a healthy Lucho. I know it's a rivalry match and it's Columbus, but Uh, I'll take the L if that means three more wins and a healthy Lucho.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll take Lucho playing more games than to win Hell Israel, in my opinion. I'm right there with you.
So there's a second game. It's in a rare Wednesday midweek match at Teakle Stadium on my birthday. I don't know how much of the game I will remember because it's a big birthday. I'll be turning 60 here on Wednesday.
Well, happy early birthday to you, Matt.
Well, thank
Happy
you
early
very much.
birthday.
Thank you very much. We beat them 2-1. It was one of those where they scored first and then Lucho did Lucho things as he does, and we pulled out two goals rather quickly, and that was definitely a smash and grab kind of performance as well. We seem to play much better against that team at home. Uh,
Mhm.
I expect a win. What do you expect of that matchup?
Oh, I'm definitely expecting a win. The chemistry in Atlanta has just not been there for almost a year and a half. Um, Yakimakis and Amada are incredible players, but for whatever reason, this team, either for lack of focus or mission, they they do things that make your head scratch, right? They concede. I think last year they were like number one in conceded goals. Is like their defense did improve in the offseason, but not enough. And they're kind of one of those teams in transition that you need you almost need all models to like get a vision of what team you want to assemble going forward. But I expect FC Cincinnati to kind of, yeah, definitely handle business, particularly if the results don't go our way this weekend.
I think so too. I think it's an easy, not easy, but a bounce back win, an easier team to play, even though it's on a short rest. And we have a young team. It's not like Miami. I don't think they could play, you know. And that's what we did last year. It seemed like we had Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, and by the end of the season, this team was worn out, worn down. So hopefully we have fewer of these Wednesday matches, and when we do have Wednesday matches, they're a little bit, uh, at least on paper, easier to handle playing than a tougher matchup.
Yeah, I think the one of the most underrated thing about FC Cincinnati's schedule last season was the amount of road games on that Wednesday night. It was like we went to Vancouver on a Wednesday night. I mean, there was tons of travel on Wednesday nights, which was like for the Supporters Shield winner, that's pretty impressive that they were able to navigate a season like that.
So that's good. We'll see. We'll see how much I will talk about it because probably next week I will unveil no an SC supporter bar episode. Get that one out. That one should be fun. I'll probably need that a rest. But let's talk about you. So. What do you do for FCC Fun? How did you get into all of this? And uh, talk about all of the scars you got there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of miss the whole USL thing. I lived in Cincinnati. I actually heard the remember there was a tryouts for FC Cincinnati when they first came to town, and they announced that on ESPN radio while I was driving to work. I was like, I think I could do it. I think, and then no, there's no. I didn't know what kind of level this team was, right? And then I went to Nippert a couple matches and stuff like that, but it just like I did not know. I'm not the most technically savvy human being on planet Earth, so just knowing like where to find the games and how to watch the games and stuff, it really made it hard for the USL days. And then about the 2020 season, when the MLS is back tournament, I really focus. I'm more of a. I grew up in a college football basketball town, so I'm a lot more into those kind of sports. But in 2020, the whole world stopped, and the only sport that was playing was MLS. So I really fell in love with this team's fight in that tournament, beating Atlanta and New York Red Bulls, and then eventually falling, that horrible game. We probably won't talk about the Hell is Real match, but the game against Portland that really secured my love with FC Cincinnati, and it's been a rough couple years, but I have found myself enjoying FC Cincinnati and the MLS more than I ever have in my life. I gave it a go in 2007. Uh, Not really a DC United fan, but the only team that would come on TV, if you remember back in the day, was DC United or LA Galaxy, some, form of those two teams. So, slight interest in DC United at the time, but really just could never fall in love with it because, again, the viewing experience was irregular. But that's how I got into this. The scarves, those have been gifts over the last 2 years. I've really enjoyed, meeting people, and some of my family members have added to the collection. So it's just a fun thing. I'm one of those people that get full on. You don't even want to see the wall in front of me. It's a cathedral for college football in front of me. So this is back here is much more of what the current passion set is.
Oh, great. So, and obviously, I found out about what you were doing with Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How did you get involved with them, and how did you start? Because I briefly explain your latest series, which I think is very cool.
Yeah. So I kind of been so since that 2020 season, I I'm a YouTube person, so I go on YouTube to look for things like, what I mean? I like social media and stuff like that, but I don't know nothing about podcasts. I don't know anything about that. So I was on YouTube and I was looking up an FC Cincinnati match and I saw Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So for years, I just watched their YouTube channel and always did it that way. And I had no idea that they had the website. I had no idea that there was a podcast thing going on there. I had no idea. And finally, one season, Boston, I think it was after the 2022 season, Boston said, "Hey, if anybody's interested in kind of joining the team, shoot an email to feedback." I'm like, "Well, I've been in, um, I've been, in some degree or another in sports broadcasting for the better part of, I guess, 15 years now, mostly covering college basketball and college football. So I was like, that'd be interesting. I really like FC Cincinnati. I don't know how I can write a story about soccer because I'm just not like I didn't grow up with the ball at my feet. But I was like, I'll give it a try and see if. And then of course they welcomed me in, and they've been great, every one of them. And yeah, the series that I'm doing now is probably my favorite series. The two series that I started at Cincinnati Soccer Talk are the two things I'm most interested in. We have the first one, as you mentioned at the top of the show, where we get to know orange and blue profiles, where you got to know, a story about somebody in the FC Cincinnati community, because that's what I'm most interested in, right? You guys are the superstars. Like I'm over here enjoying, like, I love the play on the field, but it's a community unlike any other. You can't find it in any other sport, a community like the MLS, particularly FC Cincinnati, with how incredible the fan base is. And then the most recent one is soccer in our area. So just kind of getting those little uh, niches in the community, right? Indoor soccer leagues. I've most recently covered a PASL tournament, which is an indoor soccer league with three teams locally. Shout out to the Cincinnati Sirens. They actually walked away with the national championship in that.
And that was so cool, right? Yeah, you're going to Lexington, you're going to I think Dayton and beyond. I don't know how far you're going to go. Are you going to go follow? I'm a part owner of the Chattanooga team. Are you going to go down to
No, this the soccer in our area for professional teams. I did a line from Lexington, Louisville, Indianapolis, up to Dayton, Columbus, and then even parts of West Virginia, if that ever comes. But we are going to be doing some teams that are collegiate level, and then some teams that are on the high school level, but that will be way more compact into the Cincinnati area.
That sounds super cool. See, there, if you like fans, right? There's all kinds of fans. There's no wrong way to fan. He's the man that's gonna the kind of
There's
highlight the other ways of finding, and like FCC2, other teams. And some of these guys you never know might be on the team someday. That's the kind of the fun part about finding these places is that you got fans that start liking their team, and then they start rooting for FC Cincinnati as well. So, uh, how well received
absolutely.
has it been? You getting lots of
It's been
accolades?
received pretty well. I think that the Louisville City article didn't do so hot for obvious reasons. And again, as I mentioned, I missed the USL days quite a bit, so I kind of expected there would be some pushback, but even from Louisville City fans, they were like, "What? This is weird." Cincinnati sports site covering us. But for me, I you guys may not know this. I'm from Kentucky, so Louisville City is one of the biggest. I mean, is the biggest soccer club in the state of Kentucky,
And they don't play in a baseball field anymore.
and they don't play on a baseball field anymore. That's right. It's a pretty awesome atmosphere. If you're ever watching it though, because I don't know how many people watch the USL Championship, but the Louisville City games, I was always confused. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a great venue. And then you'd look up in the stands and, it'd be, 70% full, but I was like, why is this place not selling out? Like, they claim there's sellouts and stuff. I did discover that there's a massive, like, open pitch area where there's like 3,000 kids playing soccer the entire game. Like when I was growing up and going to minor league baseball games, they had the slides and the batting boxes and stuff. So it was like, that's just kind of a interesting nugget that you didn't get when you were watching it on TV.
That's cool. See, and that's the kind of things that we kind of do on podcasts is try to expose people to new things and new ways of doing things. That is so cool, and I'm so happy that you reached out to me and you wanted to be on, and you've been throwing some people my way. And again, um, I will probably need in a couple of weeks some more people. So if you want to be a guest, just like what we have right here, we'd love to have you and have your story. Right? There's no wrong way to fan. There's no wrong way to tell me what your story is. It's like, oh, nobody cares. No, a lot of people do care, and it's a very interesting. It's very fascinating. And no two fans. We're like snowflakes, and we don't come at it the same way, have the same experiences, and so we bring different things to the table, and that's how organic soccer is, and that's how organic I think this club really is. Is that it's the fans that set the pace. It's the ones who start the chants. It's not the front office. It's not other teams. It's not the supporter group in the world or in the United States. We kind of do our own thing, and that's where your fandom comes in and helps shape how we do stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's absolutely no and everyone has their own niche in this community. That's what's been so amazing. There's no gatekeeping in this community. You want to go down and paint a tifo, come on right on down. You want to, go like you guys at the brigade have been so gracious in letting me and my son come down and experience the St. Patty's Day parade, the scarf reveal. It's been awesome, man. And I can't thank you, Matt, enough for sharing the stories of this community. I mean, like I said, it's my favorite show on FC Cincinnati fandom.
Well, thank you so much. That's very nice, and hopefully I'm just goofy enough that everybody else likes it too. Well, that's all the time that we have here for FC Cincinnati, or FC Cincinnati, FCC Supporter Square. I should know my own show. That it was just an honor, Justin, to have you. Thank you so much, and we can't wait to see you guys next week here at FCC Supporter Square.
Thank you for listening to FCC Supporter Square. Your hosts are Mark Shupin and Matt Warner. If you'd like to be a guest, please contact us at fcc.supp.square@gmail.com. The intro song was Living Inside My Brain by the Stone Bunnies. The exit song was Awesome Sauce, also by the Stone Bunnies. Thank you for listening.